Hello everyone, welcome back to a Megon 2 Electric Boogaloo. Today we're going to talk about pro wrestling. The reason why is because on a number of occasions very recently, certain wrestlers have been trending. We're not going to talk about Roman Reigns though. We're going to focus on the women's division because there is someone within it who is starting to be seen by others as akin to that of Nia Jax, i.e. reckless and borderline as green as it gets, to being a wrestler. Somebody who has the pedigree from being an Olympian to competing in the UFC, contributing towards generating a considerable amount of interest not only in UFC, in martial arts as well, but also in the WWE. Understandably so. They arrived to much fanfare, eventually leaving, dunking on the company, coming back, and that dunking on the company seems to be only fair now to apply to them. I am of course speaking of Ronda Rousey. Rowdy Ronda Rousey, whatever her bleeding name is these days. Somebody who many people like myself thought that when she got kicked in the face by Holly Holm, perhaps it would have knocked some sense into her. Turns out we were all wrong. And it still tickles me to no end that a former boxing world champion dropped her with a kick to the face first. Ronda's initial run in the WWE was quite good. She had the right rivalries, they knew how to use her, but there was some discontent then because she was immediately thrust into the scene of top. And that makes sense. Much like Brock Lesnar when he came back, there is a considerable amount of interest in certain people coming from other competitive fields and applying their trade in the pro wrestling or entertainment ranks. So not Cain Velasquez. He's the exception to this. Ronda had some history. She'd been in a few movies as the tough woman. There's no stereotype or typecasting there, everyone. But she was also popular because strong, talented, can't be denied, she was good. Her name generates a lot of interest. So understandably her working with the top names would generate for the WWE money. Can't argue with that. That's Vince's mantra. He's less interested in making talent. The problem is, at that point, they were still trying to get this women's revolution off the ground. So many of those who had been raised through that system, who had worked their backsides off to get to the top, were treated as cannon fodder for the likes of Ronda Rousey to make her record in the WWE look better. When her contract expired, she went away and had a child, eventually deciding to come back. During her time away, she crapped on the WWE. Didn't really resonate so well with the fans because her return was hardly star-studded. She came back and blitzkrieged the division during a Royal Rumble. It was like Batista winning, except I think there were more cheers for her than there were for Batista. This second run though hasn't been as welcoming or well received, and there are a few good reasons why. Words from Sasha Banks during a promo perfectly demonstrate it. I can't play it because I'll get a copyright claim for it. But she makes the point quite clearly that if you have talent and you've worked your way up through the system, don't worry, because someone like Ronda Rousey will turn up and just take it from you, all your opportunity. The same could be applied to the likes of Liv Morgan, who finally got her chance at the top. And what happened? She was served up on a platter to Ronda Rousey, who since being SmackDown champion has had a few too many botches for anyone's comfort. The more recent was what actually trended on Twitter, because in a match with Shotzi, a contest, a bout, she was a bit reckless. It wasn't great. Not great at all, in fact. There is such a thing as safety, because you have to be certain you are safe. It's why Roman Reigns' spear looks like crap, yet it is one of the safest, because how he catches you doesn't cause any abdominal problems. And the less said about Goldberg's, the better. Can we all just go back and appreciate Rhino's gore? I like the idea of someone being torn in half, alright? So at Survivor Series, Shotzi and Ronda Rousey had their contest, during which it made me cringe a bit, similar to that of Liv Morgan against Ronda Rousey. Spots looked unsafe, it was a bit, there was a Diva era moment in both, as in, it really didn't need to be there, but you know what? Go figure some idiot would, introduce that kind of pointless spot. It's supposed to be pro wrestling, is it not? Spanking? Alright. With Shotzi, it was something else. Now, some had, of course, blamed Shotzi for the spot itself. On the apron, it was supposed to be a DDT onto the apron of sorts. That's not what happened at all. In fact, and I can't show the video because the WWE will claim it, Rousey dropped her. She was supposed to help guide her down. Instead, Rousey held onto the ropes and flumped. Shotzi fell to the floor from the top rope. That's not those crash mats exist, sure, but they're not that safe. Freddie Prinze Jr., who at one point was a WWE creative writer, said that Ronda Rousey vs. Shotzi was the single worst match I have ever seen in I don't know how long, and it was not Shotzi Blackheart's fault. Shotzi did her thing in this. Shotzi carried Ronda through this whole match. She did everything a wrestler could do to make the other wrestler look good, but it takes two to tango. Ronda is regressing. She is not progressing. Her work is not getting better, it's getting worse. She blew a DDT that should have been the spot of the freaking night. And spots in the WWE right now are quite important, especially when they make their promo like trailers for events. They need these spots to make it look more than what it is. Freddie Prinze Jr. also spoke about Ronda Rousey's recent work in the ring, saying Ronda is either not taking the time to work with people or she can't do it. If it's the latter, which means she can't do it, then why is she there? And I don't think it's that. She's obviously athletic, it was legit unwatchable. He is 100% correct in how this match played out. Again, much like that with Liv Morgan, with the only thing we learnt from the Liv Morgan contest being Liv Morgan's only title reign is that of somebody solely holding it for another person, a transitional champion. I didn't realise Liv Morgan was the next Bob Backlund. When you do a pay-per-view where you reintroduce War Games, which was done solely to then create new spots with the War Games format because all the previous spots you had with people who are now no longer with the company, is mostly talked about because of a botch that isn't even a War Games bout, you know your pay-per-view sucked, or had the limelight siphoned away from it because the botch was severe. And it is that. The current SmackDown Women's Champion is Ronda Rousey. That brand and that title are directly and negatively impacted by the face that represents that brand. In this instance, it's Ronda. I assume we're setting up for a WrestleMania moment. And yes, I said it that way on purpose. OG fans of my main channel will understand where that comes from. It always seems to be at the moment that what one is trying to do as a company is build up towards the path to WrestleMania for Ronda to then drop it to someone else. For a little while, before then either Charlotte Flair comes back from injury and takes it away to beat her father's record of world title wins, which by the way is not that impressive when you have to be reminded constantly to be a 16 or 17 or 100 time champion, you've lost it that many times as well. Congratulations. The other trend that was going on beyond Charlotte Flair and Carmelo was Fire Ronda Rousey. I like this one. Alfred Konuwa had written, Fire Ronda Rousey trended because sad hardcores couldn't handle one DDT spot. I say WWE run with it. There are too many heels being cheered nowadays, but as toxic as wrestling fans are, they're begging for somebody to really hate. Ronda can be that person. They can boo her to their heart's content, as long as it doesn't get to her, which it does. There's booing her, and then there's booing her because she's being dangerous. People were booing Nia Jax for the same reason. They were booing her because she injured so many people, and the same applies to Ronda here. That was reckless. It might seem like a nothing burger, but even I'm not a diehard fan, and I saw that and thought, she needs to go back to training and developmental or something, because one of the faces of the brand is letting the brand down. Don't forget here, they're supposed to be a benchmark or a standard, and what are they doing in response to that? Failing to prepare, practice, and perform. The three almighty P's. Something one should do in all walks of life. I'm going to read two more tweets of interest from the Fire Ronda Rousey tag. The first being a retweet of Alfred from Jasmine. Hashtag Fire Ronda Rousey isn't just about that one DDT spot. That woman has no respect for the company whatsoever. There's no point in her being here. She puts in no effort at all. Are we watching the same show? And Bryce Salvador. Hashtag Fire Ronda Rousey. So we just gonna ignore that little video she made back in 2019 bashing WWE, saying that it's fake and she doesn't care about the company? Apparently in this context, Bryce, it's all water under the bridge. Because dollar bills, yo. Money does talk, the $1 million man is always right, everyone has a price. And Ronda Rousey will happily phone it in because she knows damn well she's making bank doing it. This is where part of me really wished that she had a similar level of talent to that of Brock Lesnar, because even though he's remarkably physical, he is really talented. He knows how to be a monster. He doesn't have to be the tallest, because he's the strongest, but he's also quite safe. He made a few errors early in his career, sure, but he learnt his lessons quickly and moved on. This is the time where Ronda now has to show she can learn her lesson to move on. You can't phone these kind of events in, and those kind of errors will linger, and you'll be hard-pressed to find a time where someone won't point it out if you don't make necessary changes. I know I don't generally cover wrestling content, but I've seen many wrestlers over the years who have garnered a reputation for botching. When you are graced with the platform that Ronda has, you don't take it for granted, and you make sure that at every opportunity you have the safest reputation and skill set, and that you don't drop someone when you are meant to guide them by holding onto the rope and flumping. Even the commentary didn't know how to respond to that moment.